All right, well, let's go straight into it then. Ladies and gentlemen, we're just hopping right in. Episode number 58 of Beyond the Rift, starring the one and only, your host with the most. On an upward spiral in ELO, I thought I'd add to this. For the people that doubted me, I'm a cutie pie, thank you, applause. Joining me today, my co-host, as always, Skara. Skara, give him an intro for who you are.
Your favorite Masters player is finally back in Masters. Thank you, guys. I'm the normal co-host for this show. I'm feeling great. Honestly, but we have got a great guest today in Brandon DeMarco.
that sounds so forced.
Come on, I'm trying to use your real name.
Tell him to introduce himself.
I was going to say, sorry. Introduce yourself.
Oh, I got to do it now. I'm Brandon DeMarco, otherwise known as Saintvicious. I am the current coach for FlyQuest and LCS organization. Also, I play WoW. That's me.
And you play League of Legends, right?
Is that a new game? Is that an indie game?
It's something like that. All right, whatever. Let's get a quick little shout out. Discord question and answer. Everyone loves using Discord. They got a server that belongs to us. You download it, link down below. Ask us questions. We'll be delighted to answer them at the end of the show. Please, we're begging you. Please ask us some great questions because we know you guys always do. Thank you. And download the program. All right, let's go into the topics, though, with topic number 1. So you helped guide FlyQuest to a ridiculous run into playoffs in a split where they started off poorly. Who takes the credit for the turnaround, and how did it happen?
The credit for the turnaround? I don't think it should be like, yeah, you're the sole purpose of that happen, you know? I don't really think that's like...
This is your time to toot your horn, Sane. This is where people always wonder, how good is Sane? I'm just like, look at FlyQuest.
Well, I mean, I always think as a coach, like, you can only work with what you got, you know? Like, if you don't have the talent there, then you're not going to, no matter how good of a coach you are, you're not going to be able to do it. So, like, pretty much a coach's main job is to, just, like, make a player shine, like, more than they already are, you know what I mean? So if they have, like, a natural, like, proficiencies in, like, lane or like, they understand, like, the big map picture, like, it's the coach's job to, like, find a way to, like, work that into as, like, a system or, like, a team structure to, like, take effect of that in the best way possible.
You
can go ahead.
Let me ask you, because that's an interesting, like, make a player shine, figuring out, like, the lane dynamics and stuff. You said if you don't have the talent, there's not much you can do. What's your, like, view on coaching? Do you think it's like, because when I imagine coaching, I don't know if any of this is true, so go ahead and correct me if I'm wrong, but I figure it's like a little puzzle, like, maybe your talent isn't the greatest, but you can figure out a way to make the pieces work together to be something that's at least not god-awful. Do you think that you can make something that's maybe not the prettiest of puzzles like work, or is it just doomed at the start?
I mean, I think it depends on what the strengths and weaknesses of your team are. I think for every team to be successful, they need at least at minimum one lane they can play through that you can usually gain advantages through, so that way you can build like a play style. But if you don't even have like that one lane that's your strong point that you can, get advantages nearly every game through, then it's like you don't have a consistent game plan, and it's going to be really hard to make something that's going to work when you actually get on like the LCS stage.
I mean, because the thing is though, there's like scouts or whatever that grab like teams like that don't really exist, right?
Oh, what, like teams
that
you mean like
that just don't,
you mean like Golden Guardians?
Like, are you saying Golden Guardians is just a team with like no redeemable qualities at all?
I mean, it's just like I don't see consistency there. You know, I think that in order for a team to be good, they need to be consistent. So like Mickey is like he's a wild card. You know, he's a very strong player and he has real resources, but it's like it's gonna be a coin flip. Like if you camp him, he's gonna probably lose you the game, like really easily. And even their bot lane, they usually get good KDAs and they can do like decent in lane with like certain matchups, but like let's say definitely he has the highest KD in the league for ADC, but he also has the least amount of damage dealt. So that's like another lane that's not going to be something he can consistently play through. And then Lorlo has proven time and time again that even if you play around his lane or give him leads, he never carries the game. So when you have a team like that and you come in, I'm just being really honest.
I want to thank you for that, because usually when I ask that question, people are like, "No, people don't make rosters like that." I'm just saying, cutie. I appreciate you being honest right there. I mean, do you think though that Golden Guardians, like, are they a team where, like, I guess I'll start off by asking, how much do you feel the game is to the coaches and to the players? Like, would it be 50-50 on if a game's won or lost, it's due to, like, players and coaches combined, or is it like 70-30 coach players?
I think it just, that's what I'm trying to say, is it depends on the team. You know, if like, let's say you do have like one or two lanes you can play through, then I'd say it's like at the very least half the coaches, because you need to make sure that you set them up with the draft to where those lanes you can actually play. I'll give you a good example, like our playoff games, right? Like, I'd say that those games were my fuck-ups in like the first two games, because we played Talia, which was a lane that we can't consistently play through, you know? And that puts the onus on the bot lane to be the lane that we have to gain our advantages through. And it's very hard to do that if, like, you look at a team comp and they're like, all right, they have to play through bottom. So then what's just going to happen is their bot lane is just going to play like super safe and not going to give you those angles, you know what I mean? So when it comes to, like, you actually do have players that can gain you advantages and you can play through them, if you don't set them up with the right draft, then you're going to get fucked.
I have a question. When you're looking at your FlyQuest, did you come in thinking like, okay, this is like a 4th through 6th place team. Like, we have like great talent that we have like people who can play through, and this is a team that like did how you expected them to do, or did you guys do like better than you expected?
My cat's like destroying my mic. I didn't really know what to expect when I came in, because I had been just like streaming the split before that, and I actually didn't really pay that much attention to LCS or like even like the individual players. So I didn't really like actually think about the players until FlyQuest approached me about the job, and then I kind of like looked over some of their past games, and not only when they're on FlyQuest, but like when the players are doing good, like Flame on Mortals, and like what their kind of strengths and weaknesses are. And then it's just, that's when like the coach's jobs is to come in and kind of like actually look at what you can do with your team, and like how you can make an actual strategy around like what the players can do. So I thought that the pieces were there to where we could actually make like a pretty decent run, and I just kind of like took it week by week. So it wasn't like, all right, we're gonna come and we're gonna smash, and I didn't think that like, all right, we're gonna bomb out. I thought like the team actually had like a lot of potential, and that it was just like up to me to actually kind of like figure it out.
Let me ask you, I guess, to go back to like how much is on the coach, how much is on the player. For when SKT was like the best team in the world, what would you say is like, this is this coach right here, this is them making SKT who they are, and how much would you say this is Faker 1v9ing every game?
I mean, I've probably said it 3 times already, but if you have a lane you can consistently play through, that Faker guy's pretty good. And if he's pretty much like, if he's always getting you advantages, then it's like, how can you fuck this up as a coach? Where it's like, all right, this guy, so you're telling me this guy always wins mid, and I just have to pick him like a vision style jungler to like always sit behind him, and he'll always win like the whole like mid and like take over the other lanes with that. It's like, all right, I think I can pull this off. Not to say like Koma's a bad coach. I think Koma's like probably a really good coach, because he made that strategy really effective. Like, finding how to work around it with vision, and then like even like the mid and late game macro is really good. But just from like a draft standpoint or anything like that, or just like having to formulate an early game plan, like I think you have a really easy time doing that when you just have like such a overpoweringly good player in that position.
Do you think if you took Koma's plays, would you have, and that roster back then with how strong it was, do you think you could like take him to Worlds?
I don't know. I mean, I don't speak Korean. I'm also not Korean, so I probably wouldn't get respect. I feel like there's a big thing with like Korean players respecting American coaches and things like that. You really have to like build it up and earn it a lot harder than if it's just like, okay, you know, I'm Korean, so we're just, you know, the gods at League. They kind of have like that feel to them, you know what I mean?
Oh, really?
And I'm just I've seen that before. So it's just like once you know you earn their respect, then it's like, all right, we see eye to eye. But when you like come in right away, it's like, all right, I gotta prove myself here real quick, you know?
Huh. Damn, I didn't know that about. I mean, I've never played with a Korean player, so that's interesting.
Wait, yeah, you did?
No, I didn't. Who did I play with?
Hold on. Did you play Core JJ?
No. I quit the team when all the Koreans came in. Or I quit the team and then they got all the Koreans.
Oh, right. You missed the Gamsu Core JJ. You're right. Never mind.
Yeah, unfortunately. I only had this fucker, Dom, and like those fucking... Don't get me started. Just fucking disaster. Let's go to the next topic, though. So the NA Riot casters will not be traveling to Korea to cast the games on site, but instead will be doing it remotely due to budget cuts. Has the LCS been poorly monetized? So I'll start off by saying yes. Saintvicious, though, you can talk about it a little.
Has it been poorly monetized? I mean, most definitely. If they're saying they have to do budget cuts. I tweeted about this a couple days ago, but it's like League has been around, you know, for almost a decade now, or it's like getting up there. It's like 8 to 10 years, whatever you want to call it, from out of beta, and they basically have had little to no marketing budget since the game was released, outside of like the first year right out of beta. And like your average company spends maybe about 10% of its revenue annually on marketing budget, and it's like if they're not spending any money on that marketing budget, where's that money going, you know? And that money basically is like what's funding the LCS, and they see it as just pretty much a big marketing expense that they never really had the need to monetize. And now that it's like, I guarantee Tencent came in and they were like, okay, this is actually its own department now and it needs to be self-sufficient. Like, and now we're actually going to spend that marketing budget on like marketing, because I guarantee like their numbers are kind of dropping down, which you can see like through Twitch viewership and things like that. And now that like probably Big Papa Tencent came in and just kind of like put their foot up their ass, now it's like, all right, we actually have to like do our job and make sure that like this league can be self-sustainable and actually be like a real league like the NBA or the NFL or anything like that.
Dude, it's not even just like the league itself. Like I found out that like there was a lot of budget cuts for like almost every department in Riot except for the skins department, because that's the department that makes them money, right?
Yeah, that's the only department that makes them money.
Right. But like if you go across the board, like not only are they just starting like I guess marketing for NA, they're doing so many things that other games did a long time ago. Like they're doing like TV commercials, you know, YouTube ads, like in-house stuff that they're doing internally in one of their video departments. Stuff that like, you know, probably could have been out there a lot earlier. But
dude, talking to influencers too, they just started doing that recently.
Oh, they started last November or October. So it's like within the last year they're making, I guess, a lot of moves that a lot of other companies did, but they didn't have to because they're the big dog, right? I actually heard that when they went to Asia, like some of the Southeast Asian countries, they had to stop marketing because they didn't have the server capability for the players they got. So they actually had to pull out, like, literally marketing their game in certain Asian countries because of that. And that's like super first world problem. Now we have, you know, the opposite, where they need to be able to get players to play the game because League is what? 8, 9 years old. Who's gonna want to be playing League when you can play something shiny and new like Fortnite?
Yeah, like I'll say I've streamed for, I have no idea, maybe it's been like 4 years. Only recently have they started like contacting me about like, hey, we want to do some like League content with you. Like for 4 years they haven't messaged me about fucking anything. Like they never talked to me. I'd have like a point of contact, like, hi, I'm the community outreach person, and then that person would switch every 2 months. Like every 2 months I get a new email, hi, you were talking to this person, well, they're not here anymore, it's me now. And I get that every 2 months, and now like they're finally starting to do stuff. I'll say I don't want to be like, I don't know if it's too little too late, because I don't know once a game starts going down if you can bring it back to what it used to be. So I guess you guys can talk about it, but I'm happy that they're starting to involve like influencers to try to bring the game up, starting to like market the game more, but I don't know if it's too little too late. What do you think, Saint?
I think that you can bring a game back from the dead. Like, it's happened a lot of games with, like, Path of Exile, like the Age of Conan game. That game died, like, 4 years ago, or however, probably longer than that. Like, WoW, granted, it's new content that's come out, but it's, I think that what happened was they bled out a lot of their player base, and people just kind of got tired with how stagnated the game was, and they didn't really do anything to, like, actually try to retain them outside of just hoping that people, just still love their game or like the esports aspect of it. And I think that these next year or two will be kind of like Riot's humbling experience, where they have to kind of do a lot of the things that they thought that was like beneath them. Maybe they see like advertising as like begging for people to come to their game, or maybe even like going to you, and like even you're like one of the number one streamers for their game, and the fact that they never reached out to you before to do anything. Meanwhile, like Fortnite and these other games are like going ham as fuck into the streamer aspect, which is pretty much like the future of marketing for games. And I think that like maybe they kind of looked at that they don't need to do that, or it's beneath them, and now it's like, all right, we actually need to do this, and our company's just probably going to like shit the bed if we don't do this. So either they're going to be successful with it and they do it right this next year or two, or they're going to bleed out like so much of their player base that would basically take like releasing a new game in order to bring back something to their company.
I mean, what do you think? Do you think that Riot has the capabilities to do? Obviously, they have the funding, but do they have like the brain power, I guess, to do this? Because, like, I'll say a lot of the decisions I've seen Riot make, I'm like, Jesus, dude. Like, I love this company, but this was some dumbass shit, dude. Like, what do you think? Do they have the capabilities of it?
I mean, I'm right there with you. Like, I love Riot as a company. They've given me my time in esports and all that, and pretty much like my whole gaming career. But it's like, this is a company that you hope has longevity to it, and that they're going to be successful because it's like tied hand in hand with what you're doing, obviously. So I agree that I see them do just outright insane things that make literally zero sense for them in the future. And it's like, I just wonder, how do they come to these decisions when, like, they have to have so many actual qualified people that can be working at the company, and it's just, they just keep fucking it up like time and time again. So that's why it's just kind of like baffling, you know what I mean? It's like, all right, you have the Google think tank here, and this is what you came up with. And it's like, oh my God.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Yeah, like, people like to meme billion-dollar company, by the way, but it's not a meme, dude. It's the reality. Like, this is a billion-dollar company, and some of the shit that they do is just like, okay, I mean, sure, let's go with it. I mean, Scar, what's your take on this as a whole? Like, do you think Riot can do it?
My biggest problem with Riot is never the amount of talented people they have, or like maybe not their ideas either. My biggest problem with them is that it seems like when you have a company that big, there's a lot of red tape to go through. And I know a lot of like people on the creative side of things that just left Riot because it's taken so long for their project to be released or okayed or greenlighted, and a lot of projects to be dropped because of that as well. And so like sometimes I feel like they have the right idea, they identify the problem, but like they don't do anything, or it gets delayed, and then 3 months later they're trying to tackle a problem that's like they should have tackled a long time ago. And that's what it feels like from like the marketing standpoint, how it feels like from like balance wise, it feels that way. And even a lot of their solutions, like I look at them, I'm just like, if this was released like half a year ago or 3 months ago, like I don't think there'd be nearly as many people pissed off about it. But I think that one of it is just like, I feel that they're very slow moving a lot of times. So they tend to focus on like certain things, and like a lot of the other things that I think are important gets left to the wayside. So, I mean, I hope in the future, like stuff does change. I've heard that like stuff is like moving and changing, right? I think they all know that 2018 was a disastrous year for them, like just super bad. Bunch of random small things ended up happening that was really bad and like kind of snowballed into like this terrible year for them. And so 2019 is like the make it break it year for Riot Games. That's how I think of it.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you both that like I think the next coming years will really like that's going to be if 2019 is basically this year again, it's fucking doomed, dude. But if they do some crazy shit, release like Clash on top of like some other bullshit, it'll be oh my god, dude, this is fantastic. We love it. So if they can do that, good shit, right? Hopefully they can though. But I guess one more thing on this topic, because you're on a team. I'm curious, like what's it like on a team with like hearing the budget cuts? Is like any of this like frightened you guys? Have you guys talked about it at all? Like someone on the team, like, ooh, looks like I'm not gonna be here next year. Anything like that?
Jesus.
I mean, you know, I've seen budget cuts on a lot of the teams across the league, and I mean that's just even if like league is doing bad, I think that's just more something that just comes in with overprojection for how much a company is going to be able to pull in, especially like for the first year or two coming into a franchise, and I think that you know it's just like healthy because you know, a lot of the salaries were just completely blown out of proportion and. There's no way that's going to be sustainable. So I try to like stay away from the business side of the things on coaching because like that's somebody else's job to worry about. You know, I want to just like worry about my job. But it's definitely there. Like you understand that it's happening.
Okay, fair enough. Let's go now to the next topic then. So you've been in the scene for a long time, went from pro player to boosting teams through relegation to now being a coach. What's been the most enjoyable part of your career?
Most enjoyable part? I mean, like I've had enjoyable parts of my career in like different aspects, you know, like when we came into the scene, like even when you were playing Cutie, you know, you go from like being this just kind of like loner kind of nerd guy to having all these like people looking up to you and like adoring that you're playing the game, right? So there's like that kind of like hype aspect to it, and then there's like the aspects of like where I'm coaching, where you actually get to like help people grow and you know develop people and things like that. So it gives you like that feels good feeling. So it's just like every part of the career is gonna have like something that's gonna be like really nice from it that you're gonna appreciate.
That's well, what's nice right now? Like you're coaching FlyQuest. What do you got?
Well, I got this Sky Golem mount in World of I'm just kidding. I really like coaching FlyQuest. Like it's nice working with all the players, and I think that we've reached a point where in the league and it's developed enough to where people consider it like a professional job, and you just don't really have to deal with as many of the problems of just people just going apeshit on each other. Like, I mean, you guys have all seen it in the league in the past, where just people they just go like straight ape, and you gotta have to like deal with this. Like, I was one of the people going ape, you know what I mean? But the league has just changed so much. And
Katie was one of the people going.
Yeah, I know that. I loved it. They don't have it anymore though. They don't have someone just like, what the fuck is going on? What the fuck are you guys doing? None of that.
Some teams do, but I think it's like way less prevalent than it was in the past. So it's just like a lot more enjoyable because, you know, you go into the workplace and everybody's just kind of like trolling each other, and it's like an enjoyable job, you know? So it's just a lot easier to be more productive.
Let me ask you then, what was the favorite team, whether coaching, playing on, that you've been a part of? Don't say FlyQuest.
Obviously, CDE, undefeated team.
Oh, holy shit.
Who the fuck was even on CDE? Was that the WCG?
That's the Reggie Saint team.
Yeah, it's Reggie, Saint, Choster. God, who was our top laner? Was it, dude, I can't, who was our top laner? Was it Voyboy? No, it's Dyrus. It was Dyrus.
That was for WCG, right?
Yeah.
Holy
that was
shit.
such a troll tournament. The Beyond the Game song.
I love that
Oh
tournament.
my
Dude,
God.
that tournament was actually awesome. Let me say, I wish WCG didn't try to go to mobile gaming and die immediately after, because, like, that shit was fucking awesome. Like, I don't know.
That was a great tournament.
Yeah, I don't know how you guys felt about it, but I forget how old I was. I think I was like maybe 19, 20. I was like, oh my god, this is the future of gaming, dude. This is what like the year 2020 is going to be all about. And then they went to mobile gaming and died, but that shit was fucking awesome. Like they'd have all the girls in like the like futuristic outfit. I remember I was like in the hotel and I met like, it wasn't the king of Zimbabwe, but he had like a Zimbabwe flag on him or some shit, and he was wearing kingly attire. Yeah, I was like, dude,
Wakanda?
it might have been like a cosplay or some shit. I don't know. Maybe that's just how people from Zimbabwe dress, but it's just something that like sticks in my head. I was like, this event is fucking awesome, dude. I love it. I can't wait to go next year. And then,
yeah, I had that exact same feeling, and then it comes around the time that it was supposed to come out in the next year, and then you just read in the article, it's like, so we're only gonna have this motorcycle mobile phone game, and that's it. And it's like, what?
I remember. It's because WCG ran out of money. Like legit, they like were bleeding money, and that phone game like literally sponsored the whole event, pretty much. And then actually, like this is really something I talked about recently with some people. You see like Rick Fox and people trying to push esports and like gaming into the Olympics. I was just like, why even do that, dude? I would love to have a WCG happen every year again. Like we have from games like everything from like, you know, fighter games to League of Legends.
That'd be
like
crazy.
RTS.
So you're saying like the World Championships, Evo, like TI, all rolled into one called like...
Well, it would just be like a separate tournament, right? We wouldn't want to replace those because those are like big. Like you wouldn't want to replace.
I don't know. I would legit rather watch that tournament than... That'd be like the most hyped tournament of the year.
Yeah, that would be fucking
ridiculous. That was
ridiculous.
the thing for WCG. Remember, like the people who won StarCraft for WCG, it was a great event. Like,
yeah, you had like Scrubby playing Warcraft 3.
Oh tournament. Yeah, holy
like,
shit!
That actually had so many of these games to watch. Wait, we need WCG to come back.
Wait,
that's
yeah, Sky, this is $1 million. Dude, fuck offline TV. Drop that shit. Start WCG.
I don't think they ran out of money because they couldn't monetize. I don't think I have enough money to burn for that one. I'm sorry, man.
Yeah, there's absolutely...
No, all you have to do is get like the tourism people to sponsor it. That's what happened with like, the China, you know, like the famous game or whatever where they have like the old stars.
Yeah.
You just have to get like the tourism board, like some Chinese tourism board.
It's so funny because you're like, yeah, so like a lot of our income, like our global income, 10% of it is from people traveling, you know, tourism. So like, how are we going to increase that? We're going to throw this tournament. People love esports, and like, actually, sometimes it works. It's pretty funny.
Dude, that shit, yeah, I've gotten invited to that. I wanted to go to that shit so bad, but I thought I was going to get scared. Because, like, the amount that they had offered me was, like, no one's ever offered me that amount before. And I was like, this is in China. I don't know much about China, so forgive me, Scar, if I'm incorrect here. But I was like, this doesn't sound legit at all. This is like some fucking... Someone told me it was in a music festival, and it's like Return of the fucking Legend. I'm playing with like Scar, boy, like, and hardly anyone would call them a legend. And it's just like, this is a fucking scam, 100%.
You think he's gonna end up in like a Nike factory or something with like a ball chain on him?
Yeah, like, I wanted to go to that shit, but then I heard it and I was like, I'm gonna pass. But apparently it was really nice, right? You said, Scara?
I think this year especially was really nice. I know last year one of the highlights was there's like apparently a nearby three Michelin star sushi restaurant that they all went to afterwards. So like, I don't know. I heard last year there was a lot of technical problems. This year was a lot more well run. Most people could see all the games.
Oh, nice. Wait, did you get invited to go to that thing? Because I remember there were like Reggie went to it and like fucking Ocelot.
I got invited last year, but it's like during LCS every time that I've been invited, so it's impossible.
Okay. Would you go to
It'd be fun to go to that. Yeah, I'd definitely go to that. That'd be so fun.
Yeah.
They're just like, and here's a free trip to Hong Kong.
Yeah, it actually sounds awesome as hell, dude, but I was like, when I first got invited, I was like, this shit's sketchy as fuck. I'm gonna pass on it, but now that I know a little bit more about it, it sounds pretty fun. But, alright, let's go. Oh, wait, actually, What is CDE actually your favorite team that you've ever been on?
I mean, it was a short, like 1 month experience, and it was brief, and it was all positive. So by just by sheer value of positivity, nice. And we won the tournament. So
weren't you on the All-Star team? I remember. Were you on the All-Star team?
Yeah, but our mid laners suck, so we couldn't even.
I'm done. Fucking give me out.
No, was that not a nice experience? Because I remember, I wished I went to that. I was like gritting my teeth, like, man, fuck these guys. I want to be a fucking all-star. How was that shit like?
That was actually really fun.
I actually really like the all-star thing, but then like next year they changed it, right?
Yeah, it was actually so much worse after.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just not this. I felt like when we went, it was like, all right, this is NA against. It's like actually you're against the regions. It was like an Olympic type deal.
And then when like Double Lift got that pentakill, people like popping out like hell yeah, dude. But like now it's.
And remember when we missed our flight? Yeah.
I think that was the norm for me back then. Flights to me did not work well together.
Do you wish that All Stars went back to what it used to be compared to what it is now?
I think it would definitely help viewership and be more hype because, something that I think Riot has a difficult time of dealing with their game is that, what makes you root for the Lakers or you root for, like, the Bulls or something. You're from Chicago or, you're from LA. You're like, I'm rooting for, like, my hometown. And I think that there's not enough of those tournaments where it's like, I'm rooting for my hometown. And then when they do come around, like, people are like, oh, that tournament doesn't matter because, they're focused on LCS or whatever the hell, you know what I mean? So it doesn't feel like it's a real enough tournament to where there's like that kind of rivalry going on.
Yeah, MSI happens, but it's really just like, NA versus EU. I remember when going to like All-Stars was like, you're playing against China, you're playing against Korea, maybe LMS comes in and smacks you up a little bit. Like, you gotta be a little careful. But because of that, it was mini worlds.
Yeah, it was like mini worlds. It's actually pretty, but it was mini worlds, but it was like this jumbled bag of like, these are the best players,
Yeah, and I think that's part of what made the Asian Olympic Games or whatever that just happened really, really good, right? Because you got like some of the best players from Korea versus the best players from China, and like the viewership was insane, like over 1 million easily. Just on Twitch, I think it hit 950K because they had the VPN because like it wouldn't play on YouTube. It was so funny.
Damn.
Yeah, and we need more of those type of tournaments. I think that helped them a lot.
All right, let's go to the next topic. So you're usually high on the ladder while you coach players. Do you think grinding ranked helps you coach your players better?
In the past, I've always tried to maintain a challenger account while I'm doing coaching. This is actually the first split that I didn't really play that much solo queue. I got when I started the season, I had 3 challenger accounts because I was streaming, and then I pretty much let all those decay out, and I'd maybe play on a master account every now and then, but I just barely played the game, and I kind of tried to focus more on the planning aspects of the game because it's not like League really changes that much throughout the years of how you need to play it, what the strengths and weaknesses of champions are. Unless basically there was a big patch, I would play the champion, and then I would try to be all right, this champion seems okay, or maybe the changes weren't really that big, and I just try to get a feel for it, and then beyond that, I wouldn't really touch the game at all. And I just don't really see the point in it. It's just kind of wasted. It's like a time sink that you could be doing other things. I could be watching buds, or I could be, talking to players about things.
So you don't think it's that important? Because I know a lot of people, they'll say the balance team, they can't balance the game unless they're challenger plus coaches. They can't coach players unless they know more than that. Do you think?
Well, I mean, it's gonna sound kind of ego, but it's I do know more than a lot of the players that because I've been with the game for 8 years, 9 years. I've been in this game since the beginning, and the ways to win the game haven't really changed that much throughout the years. It's we're gonna 1-3-1, we're gonna 4-1, we're gonna group up and team fight, we're gonna play to side. All of the themes of trying to win the game and have that formula and build the team comp for it. Most of those things do stay the same, and it's I have been at that level before in the past, so it's not I lost. It's not I woke up one day and the knowledge leaked out of my head. You know what I mean? But so when people are claiming those people, where it's the balance team isn't on this level, or this coach isn't on this level, it more means that they've never actually reached that level. Most of the actually truly successful coaches in League were former pro players. Even Coma, Reaper, Rapid Star, Song, myself, Cop, like all of these people are like former pro players. So it's like, I feel like it's very hard to just look at a game and like have your baseline analysis of it if you were never actually like played in the game and felt like the pressure that those players have. And also on top of that, a lot of coaches look at the game with like fog of war off and all that kind of like just they don't actually understand like the feel of pressure in the game. It's like, okay, there's no vision on Baron. Like how fast can they do this? You know, they don't actually have like those like little tiny detail feels to it. So they can't actually give them the proper response to like tough situations like that.
Well, do you think then you need to be, I guess, like a former pro player? You need to have competed at like the highest level to be able to like coach at the highest level? Or do you think someone that's probably never played League but has studied the game a lot could come up and be like an amazing coach?
I'm sure that there's people out there that can do it, but I just think that like the pathway to do that is a lot harder than just, you know, having like you probably have to dedicate the same amount of time to understand the game at that level as it would to actually playing it to high rank in the game. Like I remember there was I can't remember who it was. It was the most dominant Dota 2 team or Dota 1 teams. Their coach had like never played the game. And he would just basically tell them all the strategies and the pick bans and things like that. And he literally never played the game. And like their team was just like insanely dominant, and like all the players would always praise the coach and things like that. So I'm sure there's like really smart people out there, but I guarantee he spent just as much time studying the game as like the players did like playing the game and learning it. It's just some people learn in different ways than others do.
I think generally that's pretty true. Like even when you think of the most successful domestic coaches in the NA, you have Parth and Tony. I know Tony puts in like a disgusting amount of time. Like looking at the game, he was an analyst, unpaid intern analyst for COG at the very beginning. He was with them for like 5 years or something like that. Parth came out of Boeing, right? But he ended up, and so I would say like a lot of the people who are not pro players don't know necessarily like matchups or any of that very well, but they're better at, or they're very good at setting up like systems for improvement. I think that's what Parth said he was the best at, when he did an interview. And it's something that, like, you know, I'm pretty confident that, like, he was pretty good at setting up as well.
Well, let me ask you, I guess, another question on coaching. What do you think the, like, responsibility of a coach is? Is a coach's job to, like, tell players matchups, to, like, hey, you're good on this champion, play this shit? Like, how does, like, what is the best coach? If you found the best coach in the world, what would he do? Other than
for the matchup thing, I think that's kind of like a jumbled mess in its own, because it's like, I'll give you a good example. Like, let's say our playoff game, right? Like, Talia is a champion that Keen is extremely comfortable on and very confident. So maybe like a matchup that he prefers is something that like nobody else would like want to play. You know what I mean? And then I basically have to evaluate like how well can he actually play this matchup compared to other people. You know, what are like the win rates of this champion against that? You know, like what are the viable options that, like we could have played like Malzahar, Syndra, Cassiopeia, any of those champions in like that situation. And it's like, that's when like the coach has to actually make a decision of like whether it's going to be player saying that the matchup is a certain way or like the statistics of these other matchups are going to be like more favored. And then you actually have to tell the player to like, hey, you actually have to play this matchup and learn it. And then the coach has to come in and help the player learn how to play the matchup so he can be proficient in that way. And like, you gotta have to guide them away from their comfortable matchup in the first place. Because a lot of players that get into the pro scene, they really only have like a small bag of champions, and then it's like you have to figure out which of those you can use, and then like which champions like the player can actually pick up and like use for your team comp.
Okay, let me ask you: has there ever been like, have you ever played with or coached someone where you're like figuring out what champions they want? And they're suggesting to you, hey, I really want to play Teemo AD, just some stupid shit. Like, do you actually give that like a thought? Like, okay, I'll try out Teemo AD and solo queue. This sounds like a good idea, dude. Or do you just immediately shoot it down and just shut the fuck up? You're playing this one champion every game.
Wait, don't coach Keen? Didn't he used to always do that?
Well, I mean, you got to think about the split we just came out of here, where people were literally playing people were playing some batshit crazy stuff in scrims. You know, we're playing like, we had a whole week where we literally played only funnel Aatrox mid, And we were just like destroying every team with it, and it's just like, and then it just became like a permanent ban. This is like the pre-nerf Aatrox, like the reworked one. Yeah, like people were playing like the most like wild shit in scrims, and people were playing like Teemo ADC, like just anything you could come up with. Like people were playing it. So this is a split where it's been kind of like, all right, like you got some solo queue wins on that. Like maybe that could work, I guess. Like we're playing Ornn ADC now. No, it's just like, how can you say no? There was just too much stupid shit. But before in the past, you got to swat down a lot of wonky ass picks. So it just comes with it.
Well, that's funny that you bring that up. What do you prefer? Because Riot said like they want to open up the game to like you can pick whatever you want and any role you want, that kind of stupid shit. Do you think that's fun as a coach to be able to, I guess, express yourself more with like different team comps, or is that just a huge fucking headache?
I mean, if you can find things that your players are good at, then it's really good. But some players are not as flexible as others. Like a lot of the bot laners had a really hard time learning the mages. And then, let's say even if you can play the mages, then you need like a consistent damage dealer on your team, like Yasuo or something, that can actually be a Baron threat later in the game. Because none of the mages were actually one of the big problems, like going into the first part of the split that was never talked about by any of the casters or anything like that, is that all those AP comps, none of them actually were good at doing Baron, and none of them were good at pushing turrets. So it's like, then you not only do you need players that can play the mages in the bot lane, but you also need players in the other positions that can play like high damage carry type champions that can be a Baron threat later, or that can like actually bring your team comp home in the late game. So everybody always like would flame the people like, oh my god, Doublelift can't play Vladimir, he's so shit. Like maybe he's not the best at it, but it's like maybe Pole Belter can't play Yasuo, which he definitely can't, Or like maybe like Impact can't play carry. So guess what? Now TL can't actually play those mages in the bot lane, and then like everybody just flamed Doublelift about it, But it's actually not his fault like all the way. It's like that whole story isn't like being told,
That's what I'm saying, dude. You're preaching to the choir. I had to play through that bullshit bottom. I know all about that garbage, but do you enjoy though having that flexibility, like having the option, or do you prefer when it's like concrete, like okay, ADs go bottom, mages go mid lane, and all that other bullshit?
I think I do like that there's a lot of options and like team comps you can do, and you can be like really creative. From a coaching standpoint, that was really nice. But I do like when ADCs are in the meta because it becomes like a lot more consistent game. But I just think that like ADC shouldn't be like, there was like a brief period of like 2 or 3 patches where it was mages and ADCs in the bot lane. Like people were still playing Swain. Some people were like playing like Orianna ADC. There was like a few like picks being mixed around in the bag. And now it's just like, here we are in playoffs. Like, we got Kai'Sa, I guess.
I love it.
There's Varus, I've never seen these champions before.
I love it. Top lane's 4 tanks right now.
It's just 4 fucking tanks. Like, oh my god. Like, I thought we stopped this, So, I definitely think that I enjoyed like when there was more options that you could do.
So you think that Riot was in the right direction then? I mean, obviously, like, I don't know if you agree that they probably overdid it with the first, like 8.11 was like, whoa, where'd this come from? But you think they were going in the right direction though?
I think they were in the right direction of nerfing ADCs in order to because ADC is like pretty much what controls the entire game, because it allows you your Baron threat. It gives you a situation where like how strong tanks are, because generally ADCs can only kill tanks, like when the only people. It gives you a situation of like how you can siege turrets and things like that. So affecting the ADC was like the right move in order to open the game up, and because that affects like the meta of everything. But the problem is that they didn't nerf it in the right way. They just left them. It's like, all right, ADCs, you can't even like walk in the lane without dying like 17 times. And it's like, I don't know if that's like the right reason why like ADCs are strong, right? I don't feel like ADCs are like, maybe like they can win lane, I guess, but I'm not like, fuck, I hate ADCs in lane. What I'm like is well, this guy has like 3 core on ADC and he's like 3-shotting me as a tank. I generally don't like that. So if they were actually going to balance, the bot lane properly and the ADC champion and the whole game around it, they need to make the curve on like their power a lot more in the early game. Like they need to be like a little bit, like they need to be like somewhat comparable to the mages in the early game, and then like die down a little bit like later in the game. Like they don't need that like insane late game. And I think they had the right idea with like the Infinity Edge changes. But what the problem was is they did the Infinity Edge changes and all these other item changes, and they made like ADC have like 10 health and armor like at the beginning of the fucking game, and they just like completely shit on them altogether, and they just like, let's see what happens. Oh, they're dog shit. Who didn't know? You know, and then like all these people are complaining.
Yeah,
but like that's one of the decision things that I was talking about, where it's like, all right, Ryan, what the fuck are you doing, man? Like, where's the Google think tank over here?
Dude, I could go on about this all day, but let's just get one more question for this topic. Were there any coaches when you first okay, I guess I'll start coaching. Was there anyone that you looked up to, like, in League of Legends or in real sport, not real sports, but in physical sports?
I mean, there wasn't really coaches that were great, you know, that you can really reflect on when I came into the scene as a coach. Like, pretty much all you had were, like, Korean coaches, and you don't even know what the hell they do. Or everybody just says they just flame the shit out of people and, like, crack the whip on them. So, which does not work in NA, by the way. So it's like, you kind of have to develop your own style. And then I also, like, I read a lot of, like, coaching books and, like, watch, you know, YouTube videos, all that kind of stuff, and, like, talk with coaches from, like, professional sports teams, like, from Pepperdine University, like the Lakers, like, you know, coaches from, like, all over the place in all different sports, and kind of, like, pick their brain to see kind of what their views on things are. And you realize that, like, the general outline of what they're trying to preach kind of factors into esports and League of Legends, but the overall, like, methodology of coaching is just not the same, because you know, League is a game that's kind of just played with your mind, and it's a team game on top of that, and it's like an ever-changing game. There's, like, so many different, like, factors that aren't there in, like, other sports. And also, like, League is just not physical, you know, like, a coach, like, yells at a player, like, makes them do extra laps, like, goes, like, ham and shit on them, they just end up, like, physically better, right? If I yell at, like, Turtle, it's like, you missed that fucking CS, you know? Like, give me 200 CSs on lane or whatever. Like, I can't do that shit, you know what I mean?
You never, I'm curious.
Do anything.
No, I'm curious. You've never, like, man, your CS was so poor this game, I want you to go into a custom game and CS for 30 minutes straight. Like, you never thought about, like, wow, this is a great coaching method right here.
No, it's literally just worthless. Like, all the baseline mechanical stuff, all the players can do, but most of the time when they fuck up, it's because, like, they either don't know a matchup or they're, like, mind gaming themselves, you know? So it's not really, like, something they're gonna be, like, physically limited by, you know?
Well, let me ask you then, because you said the Korean coaches crack the whip. You think that when fucking Bang misses a CS, give me 300 CS in a custom game? No?
I mean, I heard that they just, like, flame the shit out of them, and then they make them play until, like, 4 in the morning. It's like,
what?
Yeah, like, that kind of shit. Yeah. I mean, all the Korean players that I've talked to, they've said that. So it's just like, damn.
I feel like some of the players
get fired.
Some of the players would like to play the 4 in the morning, you know? Like,
well, I don't know.
Yeah, well, they scrim later in the day.
Oh, yeah. Never mind.
When they say they, like, play into the night and stuff, they usually don't start scrims until, like, you know, 4 o'clock in the afternoon or some shit, so.
Yeah, it's actually really weird compared to NA, who now starts scrims even earlier this year.
Hey, I like
right?
that.
They started scrims at, like, 10 or something, or 12?
Our teams? You usually have a morning meeting at, like, 10, and then, you know, we start scrims at, like, 12, or we do, like, warm-up game at 11, and then usually, well, our team was, like, one of the big people that were pushing triple blocks, and then after we were pushing it, like, literally every other team started doing it, so you had pretty much every single team scrimming until, like, 10 o'clock minimum every night, so it was pretty brutal days.
Yeah, holy shit, that sounds fucking rough.
Jesus.
I don't miss that, so let's go to the next topic. So Mickey apparently left the country the week before the last week of the NALCS, and GGS had to get a replacement for him. Is it common for imports to get frustrated on teams?
I mean, I don't want to say it's import exclusive. Obviously, like, if you're an import, you're going to have, like, cultural differences. Let's say, I always like to look at the whole situation rather than blaming the person themselves. So, like, let's say Mickey, right? So Mickey, he's a star Korean player. He comes over to Team Liquid Academy, whatever. He's probably supposed to be, like, their next mid laner in LCS if he actually, like, keeps the shit together, right? So he's probably, like, wine and dined. Like, I'm pretty sure Steve bought him a Rolex when he came over. They tweeted that out. You know, so if you're a young kid and you just have all this, like, positive reinforcement for you can do whatever the fuck you want to do, you're just going to end up like an idiot, you know? And you are going to do whatever the fuck you want to do, and it's going to be like you become a diva, you know? And I've seen that that's actually like the primary thing that happens with a lot of these players that act out and they become crazy as fuck and just start going off on their teammates, is that the way that they were brought in was never in the right way, if that makes sense. And then on top of that, like the team culture as a byproduct of that just gets torn to shreds. And I mean, it is the player's fault, but I think it's just as much the org and the ownership's fault, the management's fault for not actually, bringing the player in the right way.
So are you blaming Big Stevie then for what happened with Mickey?
Yes.
All right, perfect. Scar, what were you going to say?
Wait, I had people hyping me up like Mickey. They were just like, this guy potentially is the best millionaire in North America. You aren't going to believe what he's going to be able to do next year. Just you wait. Like, he's going to pop off. And I'm like, okay, dude, I'm waiting. Like, I was really excited to watch him split. And to hear, like, the behind-the-scenes stuff and, like, how he, like, kind of, like, got raised at, like, his coaching staff and, like, kind of left the country. Like, that's crazy to me. Like, I don't know how pissed off I would have to be like, you know what? Fuck you guys. I'm going to Korea. And I think that's just...
Well,
that's crazy.
Let me ask you guys, if you were in Mickey's shoes, you were like a star player, you went to GGS, would you have done the same? Would you have just been like, you know what, fuck this shit, I'm going back to Korea, I don't got time for this bullshit? What do you think of, like, his response to that? Because I think it's fucking hilarious. I think, obviously, it's, like, over dramatic, but, like, I mean, what's your guys' take?
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't want to blame the player. I feel like there's multiple parties at fault, I mean, obviously, their split was over. Like, they were done with playoffs, so it's not like he's like, all right, fuck you, team, like, we're out, Their split was pretty much done. It was actually done. So it's not like he just, like, up and left in the middle of the split. But, yes, I agree that he's, like, extremely irrational. I've heard, like, a lot of crazy stories about him. And, I've had experience, like, working with players like on my teams that have been just as bad, if not worse. So it's like I understand like how that type of player gets created, and even me, like I was like sort of like one of those players too, where it's like oh, you're the best jungler, like we're gonna bring you over to our team, like that kind of thing. It's like if you give somebody the keys to the city, they're gonna fucking tear the city apart, So it's just like I think that it's important for the management and stuff like that to actually make sure the right expectations are set when that person comes in, rather than just like letting them go ape shit.
But do you think it's important though to like put restraints on a player like that? Because I feel like if you're importing like a star player, you want him to flourish. You don't want to be like, oh, wait a minute, we're taking you, we're getting you in here, but hold up, you gotta do some things for it. Like, what's your take on that?
What kind of things are you talking about here, Kitty? Like, what do you?
No,
what do you players got to do over here?
No, I'm just saying, dude. Like, if you get a star player and you tell them, like, hey, no getting angry. I don't want to see you saying anything in solo queue. I want to see you having a good time with your teammates. If they don't play well, what can you expect, dude? They're no like Korean superstar like you, but hey, just have some fun, man. Relax. Just chill, bro. Like, obviously, you don't want to tell someone that. Like, how do you put the
maybe not that approach.
Yeah,
maybe not that approach. But I think it's like it's important that I just think like think about the discussion that they had to have had with Mickey in order to get him to come from Korea to NA to join their roster. You know what I mean? Like how hyped up they'd have to get him to like move across the world to like live in this like new culture and all these things and like this foreign world to him.
Is that?
I think about.
Wait, does they even have to get him hyped up? They just show him the contract. Here's the contract. All right, I'm coming. Like
no, because I've seen like these. Dude. Okay, think about when Piglet got picked up, right? Like I went with Steve when they picked him up, and Steve like went to Korea, like he went to Worlds together, and he like met with like all of Piglet's family, like. It just pretty much gave him the whole spiel, That's what he's supposed to do. That is what he's supposed to do as like as an owner, and like that was no fault on him in there. But I'm just saying, like, think about the situation and like how that affects somebody's mind, like coming in, and the way they can like rationalize things. And then like on top of that, there's like all this like reinforcement of that even when they get into the country, because it's like there's always going to be I can't think of the word for it, but there's always going to be like special treatment to the player that came in, like the star player that got brought in, and that just reinforces the bad behavior. And I think that it just never gets fixed from the get go.
I feel like your answer is so mature, Saint. Like, if I had told Key this, I'd be like, Key, what do you think about this guy just, like, rage quitting and leaving the crew? He'd be like, fucking funny, dude, but pretty unprofessional. That's how I think of it, by the way. Pretty unprofessional. You're trying to see, like, the root of the problem. You're just like, if you go all the way back over here, like, this is not the kind of, thing I expected. I expected you to be like, yeah, that guy, that's fucking stupid. But you're just like, no, like, actually think about it.
Yeah, you're going into the, like, psychology of it, like, the workings of his mind to, like, justify the reasoning of, like, that shit blew out. Damn, dude, I just figured he thought his team fucking sucked dick. Like, shit, I mean
he does.
Yeah.
He does. But it's like, it's, I feel like if the person has the right expectations coming in, that a coach can like make the player see the situation and like it's like, why does this person suck? Like, why wasn't this person in the position to do this or that? Like, why do you can actually like break down a situation and like rationalize it and like, this is why he wasn't able to actually achieve like what you wanted him to achieve in the game, rather than just being like, this guy fucking sucks. Like, there's no like productivity there in any of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it makes sense. No, because I remember like. Again, this was back in my day, the Wild Wild West. Like, when I was on Dignitas, I remember I was thinking, this team's fucking awesome. I love playing with these guys.
Who was your support again?
This is with Kiwi Kid. I was like...
No, further back.
Locust? Are you talking about Locust? Yeah, everyone that I've played with, I've always thought, this team's fucking awesome. I love it. Then the final split, when I was playing, I went on... Our season ended. I went on vacation or whatever to like Maryland to see my girlfriend, now wife. I was staying at her parents' place. It was my flight like 1 week before the game started. Odie was like, "Hey, dude, what do you think? What do you think we should do for the roster?" I didn't message him anything. And then the day of my flight, I told him I'm not playing on this fucking team. And then I just I didn't get on the flight. I didn't come back. That was it. I know exactly what was going through Mickey's mind because I did the exact same thing to Dig. I love Dig. I love Dig. Let me just say that. The team, fantastic. But I knew that shit was just doomed from the start, and I love Scar. Scar, God bless you. Your Karthus, your Gragas, it was godlike. But like, when you get to that point, that's why I think it's hilarious what Mickey did. Because, I mean, I kind of did the same thing. I was just like, I'm done with this shit. I'm just going to fucking do something else now. Like, you just get to that point. Like, I can't see a coach out reasoning. Like, if a coach was like...
No, but that's what I'm trying to say is, like, they let it get to that point. I've, like, been in those positions, too, where I'm like, I'm fucking done. I can't... Like, it's over. The problem is that it became to a position already where there's no turning back, and that's because it got like, imagine Loco Doco or somebody like trying to handle like Mickey or some shit or whoever the fuck they had, or Tyler, like that guy probably has not that much experience, like, not to like hate on these people, but it's like you need somebody that's really sound in the mind and like very mature to like reel that person back in, and also like the expectations need to be set from the get go, or else like when it does come to that point. Like, any of us in this chat would just like, all right, we're getting the fuck out of here. I'm going to go fucking play WoW or some shit. You know?
But that's the thing is, like, this is a terrible comparison, but stay with me here. I think of Mickey like a Pokemon. Like, he's like a level 90 Pokemon, and these guys, like, these teams, they don't even have, like, the starter badge. Like, there's no way in hell that they ever, like, control this guy. It doesn't matter what they do. Like, he's going to run he's going to run rampant, because like, look at this fucking team. Like, you agree with me, like, the team, it's not the best team in the world, obviously. Like, Mickey,
some may say,
some may say Mickey's just gonna be like, I don't give a fuck what you guys tell. Like, I don't give a fuck if my coach is like the greatest human being in the world. Nothing he tells me is gonna justify me being on this garbage ass team. Like, do you think there's something that a coach, like the best coach in the world, could say to Mickey to make him be like, you know what, you're right, this team is awesome, I'm gonna stay?
Oh no, definitely not. But no, probably not.
Maybe not make him stay, but I think he would have react. Like I can see a coach making him like play out the games and be like maybe less temperamental, you know?
Yeah, but that's why I'm saying, like, I don't even trace the root of the problem back to when he came on Golden Guardians. I trace the root of the problem to how he got on that plane to come all the way over here in the first place. I'm telling you, man, you got to go like all the way. Okay, so I'll give you a good example. Like, I had a player named Ray. You guys know him, right? Yep. Ray is actually the person that like kind of made me sit down and really think about like this situation, you know, because he's a player that when he was 16, his parents let him drop out of school. So then you always have to think it's like, wait a second, like his parents just let him drop out of school to go play League of Legends. You have to think about like the structure that person had like growing up and like the reinforcement and things like that, you know? So obviously that probably isn't there already, right? And then he gets to go to China where like these players are treated just like gods, right? You know, they have just this ridiculous China money and they can just do whatever the fuck they want to do. And he was a sub on top of that. So it's like he didn't have any like real pressure on him, right? Now it's like, think about how like David Slan and Michael Slan, the people who were owning Apex, Dig, whatever at the time, had to talk to him to get him to come away from his like vacation resort in China to come over to like NA, you know, which everybody at the time was like, this region sucks dick. Still people think it sucks dick. To you know, to like come play and like all the stuff you have to fill this person's head with. So now it's like you have this multi-year like plan to turn this into a person into like a crazy fucking person. And then now it's like it comes to fruition, you know what I mean? And that's kind of what happens with those type of players is that it's like a multi-year plan to get him to that point. You know, it's not like he just like up and joined GGS and he's like, yeah, I hate everybody. You know, it just it came about from everything before.
Do you think, like, I know that there's player scouts, they're like, do you think a player scout's job should be to tell someone, like, the mental capabilities of a player? Because I know, like, a lot of people will tell me, like, this player is mentally fragile. And obviously, it's not a good thing. It's something that you can maybe work around. I don't know if, like, because you're a coach, so I imagine you get, like, the player scout, like, reports or something. Do they ever include, like, the mental of a player, or is it just like this guy's good at this, and this?
I mean, it's really difficult to say. Like, let's say you're going to go back and you're going to ask. Let's say Steve's trying to pick up Mickey, right? He's going to ask, you know, the previous coaches, and I'm like, oh, you know, how was Mickey? Oh, what's that you say? You don't speak English? Okay, we already can't communicate. This is tough, you know. And then it's like, yeah, and then if they actually do have somebody like that's going to translate that, they'll be like, yeah, you know, he was a good teammate. He just like really wanted to win, and he just kind of let it get in the way, and you know. But he's turned, you know, a new leaf, and he's like just wants to win, and that's why he wants to come over here and start over. He's like, wow, sounds like a great guy. Let's bring him on over, you know. And then every time that I hear that shit, it's like, oh my god, what have we done? You know, it's just a very difficult situation. You know what I mean?
Do you think it's possible to get like a superstar import player? Because you've coached a lot of players in your time, and I know that, I guess, Impact's one that's worked out. I can't think of off the top of my head. Like
someday.
Yeah, someday.
Well, he's coaching Flame right now.
Yeah, Flame. I was about to say Flame too.
Flame's current stats are like insane, if I remember correctly.
I'm well versed in the Korean top laner. I've had all the mixed bag of them, you know, and that's why I'm also like very aware of like the situation of like how problems could arise and like the kind of things that like people have talked to them in the past, and that's why, you know, I'm talking so much about this is that it's like a lot of you have to hit these problems in the head like right from the get go, or else like you're just gonna get run over by them. And even with Someday, like Someday was the player that like I came in, he pretty much had like no respect for me like right when I came in. And it's like I had to like, you know, pretty much like kick the door down. And it's like, this is what we're doing, you know. We had like a lot of fights, and then we eventually saw like eye to eye, you know. And then that's just because like I'm not gonna give you that same type of like leeway that like other people are gonna give you in the situation, or like the staff and the management and that type of stuff. It's like I'm gonna like call you on your bullshit, and like we're actually gonna like try to figure the game out in the right way, you know, or like. It's not just going to be your way or the highway. And that's like the kind of stuff that you have to deal with, and you have to like get it. You have to get that out of the way like right away, or else it is going to come to that end of the split, and it's like Mickey's out. See you. You know.
Well, let me ask you then: Are teams and I guess players like okay with that kind of confrontation with the coaches? Because I'll say for me, another story about me, because I love talking about myself. I know when we had a coach, I forget what his name. What was it? It was Blanatek, right? Like,
I don't remember.
I think it was that. We got like a coach. He was telling me, because I didn't respect him at all. He was a great guy. I loved him, but I didn't respect his like opinion on the game. I thought he was wrong on everything. He just told me like, I'm gonna replace you with Heartbeat if you don't listen to me. And I told him, good luck. You're gonna.
Well, you lost you at Heartbeat right there.
Yeah. I was like, you're gonna get fired if you do that. I don't give a fuck. Like, it's your job, dude. I don't give a shit. Like, I don't know like how the Sneaky and Smoothie thing. I don't know if it was something similar with them and Reaper. Like, I imagine Sneaky was probably in the same boat as me, where he was probably thinking, hey, good luck with replacing me with Keith, dude. This will be a great fucking idea. Maybe you guys can talk about it, but like, is it better now with like coaches, players, and teams, like, or I guess just teams allowing like the coach and players to really feud it out together?
Well, I mean, let's say your instance in particular, like, a coach has different tools that they can use to adjust a player or to, like correct them. And if you do actually have a bench of players that is good enough to actually replace you or to even be comparable in skill, then it's like you can use the bench as a tool. Like a lot of traditional sports coaches will talk about like the bench is a great tool for motivating. And in your case, you had Heartbeat at your back, so now you're like, like idiot. You know what I mean? So that coach probably didn't need to use that card because he didn't have that card to play, and you called his bluff, and then that just makes him look like a dumber person, right? So, like, in my instance, like, I actually have where I played the game for a long time, and, I was a pro player, and, we won tournaments and shit. Like, actually, I've been in, like, a winning position, so it's like, I just need to try to, like, make sure that when I do first interact with these players and the knowledge I'm feeding them is not just, like, complete bullshit. And then, like, we can actually, because a lot of these players, they actually are rational, and it's not like they just want to, like, up and lose. They're not like they're coming over here to just, like, fuck you, I want to lose, Nobody has that mindset. You'd actually have to be a lunatic. So it's like if you actually give them, like a rational way of playing the game or, like, doing something differently, and instead of trying to hit people with, bluff cards that you don't even have, then you can actually, figure out problems together and have like a mature relationship with this person. But obviously the person that was coaching you, like he probably didn't have much experience in dealing with people or managing people, so he just like fucked the situation from the beginning.
I feel like a lot of coaching in the league is about like dealing with people, like not so much like the league skill set. It's literally just about like how well can I empathize with you and use that to like get to the solution.
I'm impressed that you say that like players are willing to, I guess, take on your, because I imagine if a player didn't respect you, like let's say like a Korean player, you said some of them might not respect you at the start. I figure they just dismiss like everything that you have to say from the start. But you're saying that they're actually willing to like, okay, explain yourself. Oh, this sounds logical. Okay, I guess that makes sense. Like they'll actually talk it out with you like that.
I mean, it's just about how you present the information, and it's like. The game is going to be it's like math is like a universal language, right? Like the game is like a universal language between you and like somebody from Korea or whatever, It's like we might not be speaking the same language perfectly, but when you're going to get like priority and shit, and it's like, okay, that's going to make sense, like what I'm going to do with that priority, and like how you want to play the map. So if you're speaking the same language as that person, then it's like, okay, we see eye to eye.
Okay. Well, I'm impressed. Let me ask you then, what was the biggest problem player that you've ever worked with? Because you've worked with a lot of players in your time.
I actually think Saint may have coached more teams than almost anyone else.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
He did 2 different relegation teams, 2 different LCS teams, and like I think 4 or 5 teams.
Yeah, I've been around. We've seen some shit. I'd say from like an outside perspective, myself or Hotshot were probably the worst people like somebody could coach in the teams I worked with.
Wow, really?
I heard some stories about you two.
Yeah.
Oh.
So we were baboons, but I'd say from like a player that I just personally coached, it was probably Ray, and he's a player that's like insanely talented. Like that guy's mechanics are like disgusting. It's like best player in the world like level mechanics. Like the
Really?
shit yeah, he does insane stuff. He has like such good mechanics, but his like maturity level and his like way of working with the team is just on a whole different world. Like he's in a different universe, and he has that like it's Ray's way or the highway kind of mentality, So it's just, and on top of that, he said he didn't speak any English. He spoke like maybe 5% of functional English, So, and we didn't have a translator on top of that. We had to use Keen as a translator. So if you like put all this shit on top of that, it's just like, holy fuck, what am I doing with my life? It was just, yeah, it was just, I had literally no idea how to like handle the situation. I like wasn't prepared for it at all. So I was just like, fuck.
Well, nothing against Flame then. If you had a chance to work with Ray again, would you like to try to see what you could do now?
I mean, if he was like brought in the right way, sure. But it's just like the expectations have to be set like right off the bat. Like obviously he's older now and he's a lot more mature, or maybe not like a lot more mature, but it's like he saw like hopefully he saw the error in his ways because he had the same situation kind of on C9 when he was like dual positioned with Impact. I'm sure like they had a lot of those other issues, and I guess like that didn't fly over there as well. So it's like. Hopefully he's gotten older and he's learned from that. Like, I think he's probably like 19, 20 now. He was really young. So it's just like people change as they get older. And, I don't like to just say somebody's going to be like a certain way forever. Cause like, hopefully I change too. Cause I was one of those crazy people as well. Like all of us, like any of like the crazy people from back in the Wild West where you're just like, what the fuck are these people?
They're all chill now.
Yeah. Nobody's the same. Nobody's the same, man. But I always like try to give people the benefit of the doubt.
Okay, that's good to hear. Yeah, I mean, I know that feeling. If I had a coach myself, I'd fucking hate it. So I can agree with you on, yeah, I know that feeling. How do you think Riot Balancing has done this year, and do you enjoy the meta as it approaches Worlds? So I'll say, I'll start off. I think Riot Balancing did a fucking awful job on 8.11. I remember we had Meddler on Beyond the Rift. He had asked us, he like made a point to ask a question to us because he was like, hey guys, or mainly Cutie, I wanna pick your brain. What do you think needs to happen to bot lane to open up the game more? And I told him like, I think he should nerf regen. I think that'd be a good start. Then 8.11 comes out, absolutely horrendous patch, complete fucking garbage. I can't imagine like what was going on at like the meeting to be like, this is the patch, this is what's going to change the game, this is what's going to give League of Legends the life it needs. And I mean, it strayed a lot from that. The way the patch is now, it's like nothing's changed. Like literally, I'm just playing Kai'Sa Varus. I mean, I'm playing Lucia now. I'm pretty much playing everything that I used to play, so like, it feels like nothing's changed in the end, except we had this like random ass patch, so I'm not really sure what to make of it. Like, I don't even think Riot knows what exactly they want, so I have no idea how I feel about it. What do you think, Saint?
I mean, I think probably what happened at the beginning of the season is that I guarantee that was when Riot probably first started to see some decline in their game, and they probably had the mentality of like, all right, we gotta, same thing they do every season where it's like, we gotta completely change the game and like make it fresh, something completely new. So I feel like they just fucked with the jungle way too many times at this point, and like they just like throw the random scuttle in there, like that's good enough for jungle this time. So they kind of like went more into the laning aspect. I mean, even like Dota. Their metas have changed drastically, like throughout Dota, the whole time of Dota. Dota's a game that doesn't really, outside of like a few map changes and things like that and like balancing tweaks, it doesn't get changed in like, I'd say the grand scale of like that League does, where like the whole, like everything just gets changed at once, So like even like metas are developing there. So I think what they hope to achieve with the original, patch that was at the beginning of the split was like it'd be like that kind of big change that would allow these metas to develop on their own, and they would kind of like tweak the game from there. But the problem is that they didn't actually do it in the right way. Kind of the stuff I was talking about with ADCs before, where it's like the problem is in the power curve of the ADC and the way that it functions inside of a team comp. Like you can think of like how ADCs function in Dota. Like they have to spend a lot of fucking time farming. Like, and literally the whole team is just like hopping on this guy's back and just like shoving gold up his ass, you know? And it's like, it's really different from what League is trying to preach, where it's like, everybody's important. Supports, you have gold now. Yay! We're all a part of the game, you know? And that's just like, it's like, so wait, what are you trying to do, Riot? Like, what's the meta here? You know, like, what are we trying to achieve here, you know? And I feel like they just kind of rubber banded too far in one way, and then they rubber banded back the other way because everybody cried about it. It's like, I'm sure like you were crying about it, Cutie. Like, I can't play ADC anymore. Yeah. I've been playing since the beginning of time. But what they should actually do is, you know, they should make ADCs a more balanced early and mid game champion in the sense of like they can actually do things, but then be like a good deal weaker, maybe like on the scale almost as mages, maybe a little stronger in the late game. And then you actually have a champion that can fit into the role a lot better, because if you look at in Dota, ADCs aren't the only champion that you feed gold to, you know? You feed gold to, like, multiple types of people. Like, anything that can scale into the late game really well, pretty much, or that can affect the mid game in a really heavy way. And it's just, like, I think League, in order to be a good, well-rounded game where you can do anything, then the late game needs to be balanced for all types of classes. Like, mages and ADCs alike all have, like, kind of relevant in the same way. And I think that would open that kind of up a little bit more.
Let me ask you, do you think something like late game can exist in League now? Because I feel like Riot's philosophy has been, don't make games last longer than they need to.
What do you consider late game right now? Because you play a lot.
What do I consider late game right now?
25 minutes.
Yeah, I'd say like 25, 26 minutes is late game.
Jesus Christ. That's coming from 40, 50 minute times like when we play pro, you know?
Yeah.
Yes. Literally cut in half.
Insane.
But under that same sense, let's say you say even a 25-minute game is late game right now. Like, if you're against like an all mage team and they don't really have like a heavy Baron damage dealer, it's not a 25-minute game unless you're like hard stomping, right? Because it's like, how do they close this fucking game out? You know, like how can they do Baron? Like they basically have to win the game off of us running into them and fighting them. You know what I mean? So it's like, I think that Riot needs to think about like the ways that games end in general, like what are the things that go into that, and create different win conditions in the game rather than just like walking up and sieging, which is what ADCs do best, or burning Baron, which is like also what ADCs do best. So in order for like the ADC to function in that, it just has to be multiple win conditions.
Man, so wait, I've always said that the game right now revolves a lot around Baron, like almost too much. Like I feel like Baron takes away the creativity or the ability to run like multiple styles of play. Do you agree with that?
Well, and then there needs to be other ways of ending the game, you know? And it's like, how are you gonna introduce that into the game? Like, what is it gonna be? Is it gonna be like a buff? Is it gonna be like a sudden death mode? Is it gonna be like, something that you fight for on the map? Or like, it needs to be some type of thing that is gonna because nobody wants the 45-minute games. Like, nobody has time for that anymore. You know, like, people are playing like Fortnite games, dropping in Tilted Towers and ending that shit in like 5 minutes, you know? Like, people do not have the attention span for the 40 minutes.
I mean, isn't that why they released Nexus Splits? Like, I don't know.
I love Nexus Splits.
I feel like the move to make League, normal League, more like Nexus Splits is like removing like a lot of what makes League appealing.
Yeah. You want that kind of like long feel, like you want that feeling of accomplishment. Like exactly. When you finish a good League game, it's like we've been through some shit. Even if I hate all you on my team, like fuck you guys. Remember that time you were pushing top of Baron, you got caught. Fuck you, but we won. You know, It's like we did it. But like you win like a game of Nexus Blitz, there's like it doesn't feel rewarding at all. It's like, yeah, I guess I killed a bunch of people.
Dude, let me say something. The way I feel winning leagues, this way I feel about winning Nexus Blitz right now. Like sometimes I'll pick Lucian. 8 minutes in, I'll like have killed my lane opponent 4 times. It's like, okay, now I'm waiting for 20 minutes now. It just like most of the time I win, I'm just like, well, I won the early game. I guess now we just wait for this shit to...
Yeah, it's so awful, man.
Yeah, like...
I feel like... You can go ahead.
I feel like I want the games to be longer, but everything Riot's done and Riot said has been in opposition of that. Like, they don't want the games to go like, they want you to be in and out. Like they've said, they don't want you to be trapped inside of a game that's going to be a loss. So, like, I've told myself, if they ever introduce a 5-minute FF, I'm going to quit this fucking game. Like, that, like, because some of the games you play in solo queue, at 5 minutes, dude, it's just fucking over. Like, that's the reality of it. Like, no one can communicate how much Riot's push, like, the game to be a team-oriented game and how little team-oriented functions you can have in solo queue because there's no way to be a team. It's just like, well, you fall behind, you fucking lost. Just wait until 15 minutes and pray that your team FFs this shit. Like, it just feels awful.
Well, that just goes more into, like, pacing of the game. Like, when Nexus Blitz got released, I was like, all right, the pacing of this game for what they're trying to achieve feels very good, you know? Like, you're just looking for that, like, oh, I got my 2 items. It felt really good. Like, we got to pop off. The game is done. And if you were getting shit on, it's like, all right, the game was like 5 minutes. Like, I don't, you know, it's whatever. There's no attachment to it. Gets job what needs done very well. So that's why the key issue in Summit of Drift right now is the pacing. And it's very difficult to get the pacing right matched with, like, rubber banding, because it's like you want the game's pacing to where it's like a build-up, like a story, and you don't want it to where just like somebody comes in at the beginning of the story and they just like fuck the whole shit up, and then like now you can't tell the rest of the story, you know? So it's like they need to make sure that pacing and that rubber banding mechanic is just like, it's a very difficult target to hit, and I think some of the ways that you can hit that are like through more. They need to be like hikey comeback mechanics, you know, where it's like I'll say like stealing a. What's the hikiest way you can come back in the game right now? Stealing a Baron, right? Yeah, like Baron is pretty much like one of the big comeback mechanics. Literally, there's only one comeback mechanic in the entire game right now that's an objective, right? So you need like more impactful objectives, more impactful things you're fighting over. Like, you need to have a far more active game and like more ways you're impacting the game that actually like create the comeback mechanic, instead of just like, yeah, your jungler was like getting too hype and he gave us like an 800 gold shutdown because he's being stupid.
That's exactly what I want in the game, because at the moment it feels like when you're losing, sometimes like you don't have the ability to do stuff. Like when I used to be able to tell my stream like, hey, you know, we'll punish them here and like they'll do this, like we can go late game, like stuff like that. Nowadays I'm just like, we're waiting for them to fuck up. Like, yeah, I'm just waiting for them to fuck up. Yeah, and I think that, like, I agree with you completely. The pacing of the game is what makes the game frustrating right now. Like, I wouldn't even mind the shorter games if it was paced well, but it's paced, like, really poorly, I think.
How would you want the pacing of the game to be? Because, I mean, do we all agree? They're not going to make the game longer, right? Like, they want the ideal game to be, like, 25 minutes. I think someone told me that 26 minutes is the average solo queue game. So, like...
All right. I'll give you a good example, right? So right now, one of the reasons why also that being able to come back in the game and the pacing is kind of bad is because there's not very many even strategic moves that you can do in order to come back in the game. So let's say like Elder Dragon and Baron are up, right? You can make a decision where it's like, all right, we're going to trade these objectives out, and that's going to be our like decision to like stall the game out or like progress to the next stage of the game. Right now, there's no like actually trading decisions where you can do. The best you can do when you're getting shit on is like, let's say they do dragon and you like go die top instead or something. You know what I mean? There's not that many good decisions that you have an actual impact of that are going to have like a good result for your like your mid and late game until like it goes real late and people have like fucked up so many times. So in order to create a better pacing, that mid game is very important, and that's where Riot's actually messed up. Is they've like bled the mid game into the late game. And that's why the games are just so ridiculously short and like so snowbally. Is because there's no in between on them. And now what they have to do is have to go back and actually create a mid game again. And then I feel like League's late game is what makes it really good. It's a great late game game. And like there's Baron steals, like Elder Dragon fights, like the 5v5 max item team fight. That's what people live for in League.
Yeah,
right?
They're really fun.
Yeah,
I've never had one of those.
Yeah, it doesn't happen anymore, right? And literally, like, that's when solo queue was fun. You know when people were always, like, crying, like, bring back solo queue, blah, blah, that's when it was great, right? That's actually what they mean, is, like, you could split push to win to, like, dodge out that 5-man, like, team fight, you know? Or, like, there's, like, so many ways of winning the game in late game when you go, like, super late, right? Mm-hmm. But the problem is that the mid game is just so shit that you can't even reach like what makes League a good game. And so that's why Riot needs to actually have events in the mid game that are going to allow you to make viable choices to actually let you reach that late game if you do want to do it. And if you actually are good, like let's say you are snowballing, if you make the proper decision to actually snowball your lead properly, it'll close the game out fast, but it'll be in a way that like actually felt active for both teams, you know?
Yeah,
I guess proactivity is the most important thing because I don't feel like I'm proactive if I'm losing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with you on the trading thing because before you could like they're gonna go for Baron. All right, you start split pushing and we'll like hold them off. If you try to do that shit now, you fucking lost, dude. Like
Baron dies in like 2 seconds.
Yeah, that shit doesn't do
Like,
any
what?
damage to them. It's like no threat at all. So like. You cannot, there's no, I'm gonna go split, hold them off, I'll take an inhib. It's like, come fucking do this futile defense because we're losing anyways. So it doesn't matter that you're here because we're gonna lose we lost we lost the game. Okay, whatever.
Yeah, it feels like shit. It's like, what the fuck do I can do? This doesn't feel good, you know? Even for the team that's winning, it doesn't feel good.
Yeah, I'll say,
we're winning, we got the Baron.
Yeah, I'll say, I know that like League is like sucking for me because I don't even feel good winning sometimes. Like I'll just win and it's like nice. Like that's it. It's not like, oh my god, I went ape shit this game. It's like, oh my god, like my jungle just won he like solo killed the enemy jungle and now he just 1v9 the game and I'm scaling for late game.
It doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
This is actually the first split that I haven't played League really. Like I just have like no. It doesn't give me like the same satisfaction, you know? Because I like playing for like the strategy part of it, and I just don't see that there at all anymore. So like hopefully they revert that.
Let me ask you then, because you were comparing some things to Dota. I don't play much Dota, so do you guys play much Dota?
No.
I played a lot before it became Dota too, so I have like not. And I watch like the internationals and stuff, but don't consider me like an expert. I'm not like, I know everything that's going on here. A lot of my players like also played Dota before too on my team, so they talk about it a lot as well. So a lot of it's secondhand and then just from previous.
Well, feel free to then correct me, but like, when I played Dota, I was like playing it like 5 or 6 months ago. Like the thing that I found really interesting with carries is like, the way that they scaled, it wasn't like in League, like if I'm at 80 carry, I'm gonna one-shot everyone I come across. Like when I'm in Dota and I'm scaling, like I'm snowballing, I just become like pretty tanky. Like I'm just hard to kill and like my base damages are enough where like I'll just run over you. Like yeah, I can get CC chained and shit and like there's a lot of CCs in the game, so it's a pain in the ass for me. But like, do you think something like that could work in League where like a carry gets stronger by actually being tanky? Because that's how I feel like Aurelia, Jack.
That's some carries though. I mean, you still got like the puck, the clinks or whatever. Like people still play like damage based carry, like Nevermore.
Oh yeah, I guess that's true.
Exist. Yeah, they do exist, but I understand what you're going for. But literally every time a tank champion becomes like powerful, like let's say Maokai went top lane. It's just so fucking oppressive in League just because of the way that CC works on such low cooldowns and like it costs literally no resources. Like you cast like 3 spells in Dota, you're like, well, see you guys later. I'm going back to the fountain, you know? In League, it's like, all right, he queued me 18 times. I'm permanently stunned by his W, you know? It's just the game, the way that it's balanced around resources is just completely different. So I think it's like really hard to try to find like the middle point on that.
Okay, fair enough then. Let's go to the next topic. So Tyler 1 has recently flown into a top 10 position on the ranked
wait. This is the right one.
Yeah, whoa. That's not.
There you go.
Yeah, that one was a little.
Wait, is that the last one? You know, we could just like randomly make one up.
No. That was the last one. So we're going to the live question and answer segment. You don't gotta make one.
No. Before we do this, I have a serious question. I know you were kind of joking about this before. What do you think about World of Warcraft and its impact on NALCS, dude? Saint, what do you think? I'm serious, dude. I think me and you both know people are playing and people are playing a lot. I talked to Fnatic, and literally this is what they told me. They told me Our coaches begged us and said, look, we're looking to win worlds. Please do not buy World of Warcraft. And none of them did. But
hold on, I'm going to counter you here. I'll counter you real quick.
Okay.
C9 has the most players playing that game, and they're all the best geared. Checkmate.
Damn, dude. Actually, that's true. I think they have 8 or 10 players. That's actually insane.
Both the Academy team and the LCS team, they're all in the wild. Even their owner is playing with them. Come on, man.
Dude,
their coaches, they're so ahead. That was actually our problem, why we didn't do good in playoffs. I told my players they can't play World of Warcraft. Big mistake.
Okay, that's all I needed to know. Thank you, sir.
Good question, Scott. I don't play World of Warcraft, so I don't know anything about that shit, but I like the question.
It'll make you better at League, Keenan. You should think about it.
There ain't nothing that'll make me better at League. Fucking doomed. Let's see, though. So, I don't know whatever one should call me. Wants to know, do you think Riot in the game itself, do you think it will help Riot in the game itself if they would be less lenient on toxic players? So this is something a lot of people always talk about is like, stop punishing toxicity, dude. Like, toxicity is not that bad. And I'll say, I got chat restricted for calling someone an idiot for doing something that I didn't agree with. And I don't think I should, I mean, I don't think I should have got chat restricted. I'll just throw that one out there. But what's your guys' take on it? Because the way I look at toxicity, I feel like you're only toxic if you care about the game. If you don't give a fuck about the game, like, oh, you fucked that up, who cares?
So your argument is that the person who doesn't give a fuck about the game is worse to the game than the person who cares about the game and they're raging about it.
Dude, let me say, I'd rather play with a toxic piece of shit that's just going ape shit every game because I can mute them. I can't mute feeding.
Yeah. I mean, we've come up in a different time, like Q to you too, like the ICQ days and shit like that, or whatever, IRC days. Like, people just flame the living shit out of each other. Literally, like, being able to flame people good was like half the game. It was
art. Yeah,
it's like, damn, that guy's pretty good. Like, you like looked up to people like, yeah, that guy's good. I'm gonna hope I can grow up to be as toxic as him one day. You know, it's like way different. And I mean, that's like the things where they're holding back like voice chat because they think people are gonna be too mean to each other. Like, you have to go on Discord. You want to talk to people in your game. I think that they should just open up the cages, man. Let all the baboons out of the zoo. You know, like, I want to see like some Jumanji looking shit, like Tyler 1 leading the charge. And I want to see it like just full rampant. And I think that like, if you don't still want to talk to those people, just mute them, you know? Like, you're here to win. Like, you guys ever seen people play street ball? Like, they're talking mad shit, you know? Like, that's half the fun of the game. And I think that, like, yes, people who are toxic usually do care more about the game. And I'd much rather have, like, a toxic person that is, you know, good at the game rather than the person who's, like, probably weeded out of their mind or whoever the fuck, where they're just, like, running it down, playing, like, Teemo support or some shit. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of those fucking people, too, so. I don't know. I think Riot shouldn't try to be, like, the authority and be, like, the police figure in the situation.
Oh, okay.
Sky, you agree?
The only thing I don't like about this is the assumption that toxic players are the ones who care about the game more, and on top of that, and that like that's the type of mindset we should be promoting. Is that like it essentially means that like to care about the game more, you have to flame your teammates. I don't necessarily think that's true.
I think that I would say that.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that.
Yeah, but I feel like that's the implication. Like you're telling people, it's like no, like you should flame people because like if they're bad, like you should tell them they're bad because like you know. And I've heard this phrase before. How else are they gonna know? Like,
that's what I say all the time.
I don't think like it should be the extreme where you're like Dom and you're trying to like. Okay, so like let's say Dom, right? He's a classic example of this, right? Now I like Dom, he's my boy, but he like gets so wrapped up on like getting into this philosophical debate about like Raptors or some shit that he completely like loses track of the game and just starts fucking running it down, you know? And I see it like so many times for him. And, you know, everybody is like different in the way that they do things, and how like they let the toxicity thing affect them. but it's like, yeah, I don't think it should get to like that level, but I do think you should be able to like shit talk each other and, you know, like people. You remember how fun like chat used to be in like season 1 and 2?
I did. Let me say, I actually like. This is so fucking stupid. I actually feel in danger if I say to someone in all chat, "You suck." Like if I killed someone in a 1v1 and I was like, "You fucking suck," I actually feel like I'll get banned. Like, cause I got chat restricted for telling someone that they're an idiot. Like, it's something that blows my mind, and I think about it, and I'm just like, am I fucking stupid for thinking this? Or like, that's like the kind of mentality that Riot's like put onto me is like, I can't even like banter with this guy, cause it's not banter, it's being rude to him. And there's no need to do it, obviously, but like, it's fun. Like,
actually, I think Riot is at fault here because Riot, in the way they classify the shit talking and banter, they immediately created a situation where it's automatically considered negative, you know? But before, it was just like, whatever, it's just like part of the game, you know? Like, I just like laugh. If somebody just said some like outrageous shit, like he slept with my mom or some stupid shit, you know, I'm just like, this fucking guy, you know? How can you take it serious, right? But now you say that shit, you get banned. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, that shit's lame as hell, dude. See, I'm glad that Scar, you don't agree with us, but it's because you're fucking lame.
I just think that, like, I'm worried about, like, I think a lot of people will, like, I agree with what you guys are saying, but, like, I think there's some, like, inherent things that, like, I don't like the assumption of, which is, like, yeah, you know, like, the toxicity means they care more, and then, like, you essentially can't play the game and care about it without being toxic. And people are going to... What?
I'm going to checkmate you right here. You know who started that movement? Riot Light. All right, we're done with this conversation.
Let me just throw one more thing in there, though. Like, when I was in Florida, when I was a kid, I used to play, like, paintball. I'd do, like, woods ball or whatever. It'd be, like, 3v3. I don't think I've ever been, like, someone knocks out one of my teammates, like, he shoots him or whatever. I don't think I've ever been, hey, nice shot, dude. Like, I'm always like, hey, you fucking idiot, go high. Why are you doing it out in the fucking open? Like, that kind of, I just hate that kind of fucking mentality where it's like, nice shot, man. You just nailed him right there. Hope I don't get hit next, bro. Like, it's just too Care Bear and fucking.
Think of the children, cutie.
Yeah. I hate that shit. Like, if we got rid of that and we allowed banter, like, I think it's fun. Like, maybe that's just me, though. But
all right.
Let's go to the next topic. Ooh, this one's good. This Kragan wants to know at Skara, why don't you show your A&M pride ever? Do you not have any? Did you hate your time here?
Wait, why did you choose this question?
Because this guy just wants to know a little bit about. I want to know a little bit about you.
I wasn't really focused too much on A&M. Like, I went to my roommate was a big football fan, and so I went to a lot of the college games. But aside from that, like, I was playing League. Like, it's really hard to focus on other stuff when I'm playing League like 8 hours a day. I like failed some of my classes too because of it. Like, I wasn't huge on like school spirit because I was huge on League of Legends, and so League kind of devoured my soul when I was in college, and I didn't get much, I guess, school culture because of it.
All right. Fair enough. Impractical One wants to know, it seems like Riot keep releasing high-skilled champions one after another. Do you think it's time for Riot to just release a lower-skilled champion just to shake it up a bit?
Wait, you think Nunu is a high-skilled champion? Is that what he's saying?
I mean, I think he's talking about new champions, not reworks. Because let's be honest, dude, if they try to rework Nunu into, like, something, like, he wouldn't be Nunu anymore. Like, the champion, like, Nunu's a brain-dead champion. I'll say, I do think Riot's released a lot of high-skilled champions, but I think that, at least for me personally, I feel like they're kind of forced to, like, what's going to sell more? If you release Alistar or if you release Pyke? Like, no one's going to buy fucking Alistar. If tomorrow, new champion announcement, W, he moves forward and pushes you. Q, he slams the ground and knocks you up. E is just like a pulsing thing, and then his ulti reduces. Like, that's just not exciting. Like, Pyke is like, every ability has like 5 fucking things attached to it. He's just fucking ridiculous. Like, his ulti executes, it dashes, It fucking gives gold to his teammates. It's like, this shit's fun. Like, Alistar, damage reduction.
I think either way you should think about it is that, like, the player base has gotten better over time. So, like, you can, like, there's the champions that are considered, like, the skill floor. The skill floor has risen because people have gotten better. Like, look at the old Dota champions, right? There used to be Sven, there used to be Skeleton King, and there used to be characters with literally 1 point click ability and 3 passes. Legit. And, like, they've had to change those because it's like, those champions just aren't fun to play. Like, the mechanical floor is too low. Just like in League, like, I think Warwick was, like, really boring. Legit. Q, auto attacking to death. Okay. Like, I think that, that I like it when they rework it and when they add stuff that's new abilities. I feel like there's already a lot of champions in the game that, if you don't have, like, mechanics or that good mechanics, or you want to play a low mechanically demanding champion, or you want to play like a dumb champion, like, those exist. There's a ton of champions like that. And I think they should be pushing, like, what they can for champion, I guess, development for cool stuff.
Alright. Saying, you got anything on that?
It's pretty much a good Scar. I think there's enough easy champions in the game.
Yeah, it's like Malphite and shit, you know?
Yeah, Annie, Malphite, Garen. There's more than enough, like, learner champions. And if you want to play actually something more exciting than that, then, like, play one of the harder champions.
Alright. Yeah. Tippers, we'll go. Last question here. He wants to know, this is Ad Saint. He liked the way that you were talking about all your ideas for the game. He wants to know, have you ever thought about joining Riot Games, or have they ever approached you?
I don't know if I'd be able to work inside the culture there. Not to even say, like, anything about, like, what people recently came out, but it's just like, you know, I'm a very shoot from the hip type person, so it's like what you guys were talking about before. There's like a lot of red tape there, and yeah, a lot of like bro culture and things like that. And I feel like I'm just too old for that, you know. So it's just maybe I would work with them in like maybe like a mid or upper manager like position, but they're never gonna offer me that position. You know what I mean? So it's just like, who knows. And I'd probably like make more money being a coach, you know. So I'm just gonna like I enjoy coaching a lot more. It allows me to be like more hands on with like the parts of the game I enjoy, and it's more lucrative. So I'll just keep doing this until, you know, it's like not fun for me to do anymore. It's not like lucrative, and then I'll maybe like try to go down like another route or avenue like that, and we'll see when it comes.
All right, that sounds good to me then. Well, that's gonna be it for Beyond the Rift, episode number 58. I want to thank everyone for coming out, and I want to thank, most importantly, our boy, Saintvicious, Brandon, for coming out. Brandon, give him an outro. If the people want more of you, where can they get you?
I sometimes stream twitch.tv/Saintvicious, and I think my Twitter's like LOL_SDVicious, and that's about it, man.
Sky, give him an outro.
You know where to find me. I'm on Twitch and Twitter _. I'll be streaming in like a couple minutes after this.
And you know where to find us every Thursday, 4 p.m. PDT. It's always a good time on Beyond the Rift. I want to thank everyone for coming out here today. Hope to see you next time. Have a good rest of your day, fellas. Peace.